What is your deepest, darkest secret? I want my dad to die. My dad is a piece of shit. He has tortured my mom and myself since childhood. He has had chondrosarcoma bone cancer for 4 years now. I have no remorse for him suffering from this. I'm rather angry that my family has to suffer because of it. I just hope it all comes to an end very soon so that I can live a peaceful life. It's so emotionally exhausting. I felt this one. My father is basically a sadistic toddler who loves to humiliate people. I have the type of OCD that makes me think I'm a pedo. I have never touched a child and never want to. The thought of it disgusts me. But I get recurring intrusive and very unwanted thoughts about it. When I had my son, I almost gave him up for adoption because of the horrendous fear that I would hurt him somehow, without realizing. I'll look at a little girl's hair and go, "Ah, how cute." And my brain goes, "Wow, look at you, clearly a rapist. There's something really wrong with you." I was sexually abused as a child myself, so I think it was just a weird way my brain coped with it. To be afraid of causing that pain to someone else, so much that every action is a potential sign that I am capable of hurting a child like that. It became extreme, and I limited a lot of my life to try and prevent something I wouldn't ever do. I didn't learn it was OCD until well into adulthood. Once I realized they were just intrusive thoughts and they didn't define who I was, it sort of lost its power over me. But I have only ever told my husband. My deepest, darkest secret is that I still sleep with a nightlight on because I'm afraid of the dark. Don't judge me, it's comforting, okay? My dad had a pot pipe made of wood in the garage. I used to smoke out of it all the time because he didn't realize I knew it was there. Anyway, I didn't have a lighter one day, and I used a blowtorch in the garage to smoke out of it. Completely destroyed the pipe. About 15 years later, my dad tells me about how he lost this pipe he made in his shop class in the 70s. Oops. In elementary school I had bangs, so I could tilt my head in such a way that I could see right through my bangs without anyone noticing. Did it for years. No regrets. I grew out my hair in high school 50% because it let me sleep in class without the teacher realizing. The other 50% was because it covered the acne on my forehead, which was definitely not from the greasy hair constantly touching my forehead lol. I couldn't pick up the pieces after my divorce. Would go weeks without showering or brushing my teeth. I found my baby blanket from my youth in a trunk and wrapped it around myself that night. Best sleep I had had in years. I keep it in my bed since then. I am a 42-year-old man. 48 years old. Lost my job, relationship, and my mom in the same week year 5 years ago. Still cuddle my childhood teddy bear that mom found and sent to me about a decade earlier to sleep. It helps. Hope you're doing okay. It sounds like you are. I am thinking about you. I've lived a boring, non-secretive life. But my great-grandfather once told me a story of when he killed a man with a baseball bat for trying to rob the bar that he owned. And the regulars of the bar stashed the body somewhere, and nobody ever talked about it again. He then put his finger to his mouth and said, "Don't tell anyone." So there ya go. Sorry, Gramps. Edit. This happened in Brazil back in the 60s. Gramps is long gone. Did it really happen? I have no idea, but it was Brazil. Something similar to that probably happened during the time it took me to type this edit out. Brazil do be like that. That's my grandfather describing his father's adventures terrorizing the local neighborhoods when he gets wronged. Normally I would think he was lying, but there's actual court documents that back up the facts. The invulnerability is a bit played up, but he did in fact beat up 6 people who broke his car mirror and was in fact a walking brick house. If I remember right, he was looking for one kid that had a record of breaking people's shit. And that one kid got a posse of 5 others together to defend him. I'm not getting married because I don't want to split assets in case there's a divorce, but I'll make up some other shit instead of saying that. Not really a secret, but a desire to live a life of minimum. I want less of everything. I sit in wonder at the complexities that go into making a single day happen. I have 0 wants in life. I feel all they do is take from you. When I was a child, I managed to get a speech therapist fired. I was in speech classes up until high school, but this happened around 3rd or 4th grade. I don't know what her official title was, but she was not the speech teacher I would see regularly. She was an older woman, probably around her 60s. I believe she was there to examine how well the speech therapy had been going in the distract. She had me read sentences with the sounds and letters I struggled with. As this was happening, she mocked me, and she laughed while telling me I had the weakest tongue she had ever seen. As a child with speech impediment, I was already self-conscious. But for an adult authority figure to belittle me like that, it made me never want to speak again. Once the school day was over, my mother noticed I wasn't very talkative. Eventually I broke down, and I told my mom about the whole situation. She called the distract and threatened legal action. We were notified soon after that the woman had been fired. There was even a phone call between my mom and the woman, where she had begged my mom for forgiveness so she could keep her job. I suppose none of this is really a secret, just something I don't talk about often. Her own actions are what led to her termination. However, secretly I do hope I ended that woman's career. As callous as that may sound, you don't mock a child, and you especially don't mock a child for something they can't control. To do so when your career has you working with children shows you're unfit for that role. Good on your mom for standing up for you. The speech therapist was 100% in the wrong, and she probably bullied other kids. It blows my mind that she would mock a kid for their speech issues, when her job was to help kids with speech issues. Wow. This might probably be buried in the comments, but I was sexually molested by my dad brother when I was a kid. Repeatedly. He was in college and would sometimes come to our house at lunchtime when my parents would be at work. I would be with my aunt, his sister, who looks after my brother, and I would take a nap after lunch and would wake up to him doing things to me. I was so scared I would just pretend to sleep and he would eventually stop. I don't remember how long this went on. I remember my aunt telling me to tell my uncle that I would tell on him to my dad if he does it again. It's a very faint memory. I'm not sure if it did happen or I just dreamt it. This happened when I was maybe 5 or 6 years old. Growing up, I kinda forgot about it. Maybe repressed it even. I still see my uncle from time to time at family gatherings. I never told anyone because it was a long time ago, and I'm scared no one would believe me. Also, I do not want to stir up drama within the family if this ever comes out. Lately, it has been eating at me, and I have been trying my best to distract myself from thinking about it. I deliberately flooded my family's basement to stop them from selling our house, because I didn't want to move. It worked. The buyer backed out, and we stayed put.